Golly, that's good.
I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychaud's or Peychaud's or Peychaud. This is not what I expected. Howdy. It is Thursday and Bourbcast time, and welcome to the show. Well, we're outside. We're doing something different again. I suppose I ought to make this so I can talk to people, which I forgot to do. I also didn't get a chance to change my shirt. Normally I like to wear kind of like a novelty shirt, and that didn't work out today either. It's been a busy day, long day. Started off with a video shoot this morning. Then my mother had a doctor's appointment this afternoon, or actually this morning, and then we spent the afternoon talking about the results of the doctor's visit, and then you come home and there's like, hey, we've got video editing for you to do. I'm like, okay, good, yay. So, and I had to research, and here we are, and I had to set up outside. I'm not complaining. This has been a pretty decent day, and it's gorgeous outside. We're like, I don't know, what is it? What is it right now? It's 75, it says. 75 degrees outside. I'm not going to complain one bit. It's been really nice not to be inundated with phone calls today. I kind of needed an off day, and this was good. Did some volunteering today, though. Did some of that. Did some business. It was good. It was a good day. I will tell you this much, though. There was one thing that happened today that I cannot tell you is my favorite thing. And that was while we were at my mother's house, we were looking around some of her things in her storage shed, or actually it's not even a shed, it's upstairs of her house. She got all these rooms that she stores stuff in, because it's just her. And we dug out this one box, and out comes this cat. Full-size gray cat. And I jumped so hard, I think I sprained. I've been dealing with some tendonitis in my arms after swinging a sledge, 3D archery thing. You got to, never mind. Anyway, and this one they were just about healed. This one's pretty good, but this one, I don't know. The way I jumped back or something like that, I wrenched my wrist. I feel that. Oh my goodness. And I was feeling it when I was setting all this stuff up. It's like, oh, I had this healed. Now look at me. I'm a mess all over again. Drat. All right. Today, we're trying what might be the last new flavor of Overholt I ever get to try. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this surprised me. I hope they do more stuff. But this is the A Overholt. What is significant about the A Overholt? Well, there's several things. Let's go into it, shall we? Let me pour it first. Let it sit a little bit. This is, of course, another product of Jim Beam. Oh, okay, it is a cork. Jim Beam Distillery bought this back in 1987. It's aged 4 years. It's 95 proof. Release date was April 2024. So this is a new pour. If you find this on your shelf, get it because it's brand new. You already know about Old Overholt. Brand got its roots in Pennsylvania in 1810. It survived 2 world wars and Prohibition, barely, and then was sold to Jim Beam and moved to Kentucky in 1987. More on that in just a minute. I got a sneeze coming. Just saying. Okay. A Overholt Straight Rye marks the return to Abraham Overholt's original mash bill. And here's the interesting thing about this one. We know the mash bill, and there's a reason why we know the mash bill on this. That's because it's going back to the roots of the original Monongahela Rye. Okay? Now let me read this to you. The original mash bill is 80% rye, 20% malted barley. That's high with the malted barley, but there's no corn. 80% rye, 20% malted barley, which is often referred to as the Monongahela mash. Old Monongahela Rye was an old style of rye that got its name from whiskey farmers working in the Monongahela Valley in Pennsylvania. Originally an unaged product, it got its old moniker when distillers started barreling and aging it in stone and brick warehouses. Old Monongahela Rye, I almost said it wrong. I know I was going to get called on it, I had to fix it. Old Monongahela Rye used sourced water from the Monongahela River, utilized a 4-to-1 ratio of rye to malted barley, 80%, 20%, a sour mash fermentation in a 3-chamber still. Overholt is a storied rye brand that originated in Pennsylvania. Because of the rocky soil of Pennsylvania, rye grain had a better success rate at growing in the climate and geography of the state. And the region quickly became known for the rye whiskey as a result, much like Lawrenceburg is today, and Alberta and such. And Maryland, for that matter. In fact, the state over the past decade has pushed, to get this, has pushed for a sub-classification of rye called Pennsylvania rye. Just like Kentucky did Kentucky whiskey, they want to do Pennsylvania rye. Don't see anything wrong with that one bit. Calls for the rye to be made in Pennsylvania and made from a mash of at least 51% rye grain. Old Overholt Rye, let's see, always made in Pennsylvania until 1987 when Beam brought the brand to Kentucky, aligned the mash bill with their existing rye brands, resulting in corn being added to the mash bill. This one is something that Beam is doing to call like an homage to the original Monongahela Rye that didn't have any corn in it, the 80-20. Okay? It's a change that re-emphasized the brand's rye heritage and geographical origins by omitting corn from the mash bill altogether, aligning it to the original mash bill. It is, however, still distilled and aged in Kentucky. Paul's watching. How are you, Paul? I hope all is well. I am looking forward to this one. This is the Monongahela Rye, the A Overholt, 95 proof, a little bit lower than what we've been drinking. I hope that Jim Beam continues to expand the Old Overholt brand. It's a decent price. The price on this one, MSRP, is $40. And again, the difference in this one is they want to show the heritage of the Monongahela Rye, so they actually show us the mash bill, and that is 80% rye, and that's Pennsylvania rye, and 20% malted barley. So, all right, doing good. I'm glad. I'm glad, Paul. I had somebody on YouTube ask me the other day, where are all the comments coming from? Who are you talking to? It's like, well, I had to tell him. I had to break it to him. Sorry, man. These are done live on Facebook, and I told them where to find us. And then they're repurposed and uploaded to YouTube. So far, so good. I'm going to try another YouTube live sometime before the warm season is over. Probably when I can sit outside like this, I will do another live YouTube exclusively for YouTube. And then I'll do the reverse and I'll post it on Facebook. That's going to happen sometime. I'll just try that. It's been a while. It's been a while since I did that. So we're gonna give that a shot. All right, here we go. Whew, yeah. Kind of a red hot candy style cinnamon. Really nice rice spice. You know, no, it's got to be, right? Because they want to do, well, Pennsylvania wants to do Pennsylvania rye. There's nothing that says that this is Pennsylvania rye. This could be Lawrenceburg rye. But it's still the right mash bill. 80% rye, 20% malted barley. Didn't say where the rye came from. Let me double check that. Let's see. Doesn't say. It doesn't say that this is actually Pennsylvania rye. It is a Monongahela style rye with a Monongahela style mash bill. I got it. But it doesn't say this is actually Pennsylvania rye. Okay. Whew. A little ethanol on that one. There's some citrus for sure. That's orange citrus. Beautiful. Ooh. Still get it out of my nose. Ross is watching. How are you, Ross? Glad you're with us. I was just saying this may be the last new Overholt product I get to try. And next week we're doing something completely different from a completely different state. You watch. It's coming. Something I've never had before, like everything else. There's a little mint on the nose. Yeah. Maybe a little brown sugar. That orange is really nice. Honey for sure. Honey for sure. I like this nose. The Song of Summer. I love the sound of cicadas. And they've been doing that since May, maybe early June. It was an early cicada year. I love that sound. That was like Eddie Van Halen with his pickups. That was like that cicada. I think that might be Eddie Van Halen reincarnated as a cicada. I'm just saying. All right, let's try it. Yeah. That bloom is slow, but it's noticeable. You try to leave it on your tongue for 10 to 12 seconds, get your palate ready. Wow. Okay, mouthfeel a little on the thin side. Doesn't have the same viscosity as something that has corn in it. It doesn't have the same viscosity as some just 95 or 100% rye. It's a 4 year, so it didn't get a chance to sit really long. Did you catch that? Can you hear that? He's like turning his pickups off. It's so cool. That makes me happy. Larry's watching. Hey, Larry. We got the Eddie Van Halen cicadas out there. The Van Cicada. All right. So the bloom on that it took a minute. It took a minute to come out, but it was strong when it got there. It was just a nice, easy kind of a ramp up. It was kind of nice like that. I like it. The mouthfeel's not that thin. It's thinner than the other ones, but it's not that thin. But then again, the other ones aren't 95 proof. The other ones have been over 114, 121 that I've been drinking lately. 100 proof for the bonded. And it's got corn in it. This is slightly thinner, but it's still got a nice viscosity to it. I imagine when I add water to it, it's going to get some of that back. Flavors. This is earthier and less sweet than the other old Overholts. Now, this is not old Overholt. This is a Overholt. It's a completely different product. 80% rye, 20% malted barley. And the other ryes, as I said before, were taken to Kentucky and the corn was added to the mash bill. So this is not as sweet as those are. It's also, I wouldn't say, as complex. It's not as full-bodied. Let me see if I can get you some notes here on the flavors. There's some orange in it. I'd say there's still a very, very slight brown sugar note, still a honey note. I suspect that the 20% malted barley is driving down the punch of the rye. Doesn't matter if this is a Pennsylvania rye or a Lawrenceburg rye or some other rye from somewhere else. I would expect the profile of the rye that I'm getting to give me a lot more of a punch, but that 20% malted barley I think is knocking it down. I am getting a little bit of that nuttiness from that. I'm not going to say there's a bug right there. I'm not going to tell you that it's No, I'm going to say this is the first really beam rye that I have detected a slight amount of peanut. And I know a lot of people, they drink this stuff and the first thing they get is peanuts, but I don't normally get that. I am getting that a little bit with this one. That may be, again, the result of that 20% malted barley, because that tends to be your nuttier, fruitier side of things, often. It's also, as I understand it, I'm just going to leave that off. It's also, as I understand it, the most expensive of the 3 grains that go into these things. So 20%, this can't be the cheapest bottle. Now it retails again for $40, which that's really not bad in today's marketplace. Trish is watching. Hey Trish and Joshua. Hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are here. This might be one of those ryes that if you want to introduce somebody to rye, since it's got a lower rye part of the mash bill, this may actually be a decent introduction to rye. I tend to tell people to send them towards the Elijah Craig rye, or which is lower in proof. I think it's 95. It's about the same as this. I also tell people to go to the Sazerac rye, which I think is 90 proof. This being 95, a little higher, but it's mild for ryes. That first burn, once you get past it, the rest of it seems really, really mild, comparably to ryes. And it's not going to be 100 proof like Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse, Elijah Craig, Sazerac, the higher proofs, Pikesville, they all have the same 51% rye. It's the absolute minimum that you can get and still be called a rye. It's got to be 51% for legality. This has got 80, and I'm amazed really at how smooth and unassuming this pour is. I'd like to tell you that I think it could use 2 more years in the barrel. And normally I'm not very critical of the Overholts. This one, it's different. It's a different mash bill, different mouthfeel, different everything, and I think that it could probably benefit from maybe 2 more years in the barrel. I don't know what the char is on this. I'm going to tell you it's probably not a number 4, maybe a number 2 or 3 char. It's not super dark, but 4 years, I might give it a number 3. Just trying to be generous here. It's not a super dark juice here. All right. There's a mosquito right in front of me. That's the downside to being like near the woods this time of day. Even if there hasn't been any water, there's mosquitoes. When I was setting up, I had one right around my ear like 3 times. I'm like, stop it. They're not going to listen. They hungry. All right. All right, one more. Okay, my overall impression is I do like this. It's different than every other Overholt I've tried. I like it. There's something about it. It's not overly like cereal-like. It doesn't have those cereal grains that tend to turn me off with ryes. Like, now there was one that I didn't like at first, the Alberta Premium. High proof rye, over 100, I don't remember what it is, 100 and, I don't know, 15, 120 proof or something like that. It's up there. And the thing that turned me off of that is it felt like tasted like I was eating granola. And there can be a good side to that, but I'll tell you, I let that bottle sit for probably 2 years, and now I'm nearing the bottom of it. And that's actually become a very, very good bottle. And some of them just need to sit, right? The Uncle Nearest 1884 is better the longer that it sits. And this one, it might get better the longer as it sits too. And this is the only bottle I have of it, so this may sit a little while before I try it again. But right now, I can tell you I like it. Paul says, oh, Lester's watching. Hey, Chris. Chris is watching, and Lester. Hey, Chris, how are you? Paul says, as long as mosquitoes' wings are damp, they can fly. Well, I don't know who's spitting on them. You know who's probably spitting on them? The locusts, the cicadas. Did you know that cicadas pee? Because they munch leaves, and like relentlessly. They're always eating leaves and things like that. Well, leaves contain moisture, and you could be sitting under a tree and there's a bunch of cicadas in the tree. Remember a few years ago, oh my gosh, it's probably been, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, we got that big cicada hatch, right? The 17-year or something like that. They come up out of the ground. They're all over everywhere. You could sit underneath the trees and all of a sudden you feel a drop on your hand. Well, that's cicada pee. Basically, they got to get rid of it. So maybe the cicadas are dropping a little bit of moisture on the mosquitoes. Serves the mosquitoes right to get peed on. I'm just saying, because I can't pee on them. Maybe the cicadas can. I don't know. I don't think I added anything to this yet. We're just going to do a little bit. You learn all sorts of things here, don't you? You learn about joy, and you learn about cicada pee. And of course, you learn a little bit about alcohol. Yeah, okay. It's okay, Ossifer. All right. Still getting that really nice red hot cinnamon. Just a little on water, just a couple drops. Still getting that citrus. That orange really pops. It's not orange peel. It's like orange, like orange. Some things don't need to be explained all that much. All right. I was ready to tell you that water killed it, and it didn't. That is one of the most unusual experiences I've had in what, 225-ish Bourbcasts? Some of the useless information that we know. I know. I have lots of useless information. I do. Okay, but let me get you into some useful information. That was interesting. I started in on that, and I'm thinking, okay, that did nothing for it. It might have even taken something away, except for the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel, as I expected, got a little viscosity boost off of the water. Happens often, really, especially with somewhat thinner pours to thinner pours. You add a little water to it, it bulks up a little bit. This one, it felt like it didn't do anything flavor-wise, and it might have actually pulled it away, and then that bloom that had started to go away, that burn on the tongue, started to come back, and it came back again slowly, but it made its presence known on the palate and on the tongue. And I was like, oh, there it is. And along with it, it's like that flavor kind of had a crescendo. It's kind of like, you remember the old gum, the stuff with like the goo in the middle? You could chew on the outside, and the outside would like lose its flavor, and all of a sudden you punch into that center, and you get that bleh all over everything, and you get the goo, and all of a sudden the flavor comes back. Now maybe you were not as nimble-teethed as me, and you were able to go straight for the goo at the very beginning, but I was able to chew around the goo. You'll find that anything that I cannot describe, I will describe as goo. This is rye. That stuff inside the gum, that's goo. I used to get criticized for that all the time, but I used to get criticized for a lot of things. Oh my gosh. All right, let's jump back in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. The other thing I noticed, and sometimes this happens, and this is a nice example of this, is when you try it neat, you're kind of trying it raw, right? When you add a little water to it, it tends to fill out. This one is doing that, and that's again, that first taste with a little bit of water on, I was like, I don't think it's doing it. That was the experience with it, is because I noticed that the flavors had kind of rounded out, had kind of come together. You could say emulsify. That's a baking term or a cooking term, but it's a way of mixing things together so that they actually come together and they can't be separated. That is kind of the feeling that I have off of this with water, is it somehow rounded it out, brought out a bigger, bolder flavor, but only a little, just enough to make it feel more balanced. So this one, I could tell you, even though at first it was an off-putting thing, on water, the old Overholt is at a new level. I like it neat. I always like it neat, but on water, there's just it transcends itself. If you want to get metaphysical, it transcends itself. I don't have that. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. I like this. I'm not going to tell you it's my favorite rye. I'm not going to tell you it's my favorite pour. I'm not going to tell you it's going to make my top 5 of 2024. See what I did there? I rhymed that. Favorite pour, 24. I didn't mean to. I'm just that good. All right. Coming up, we got something new that I've never tried. It's on the way. I'm going to introduce. Oops. Got a little wah-wah there. Yeah. Oh, got it on my phone. All right. I'm going to take one gorgeous ice sphere. Almost dropped it. And put the other one back on the ice. And let it continue to stay frozen. I'm just going to leave it in there until next week. All right, so a little on ice, and Paul, you're with me, so you know what I got to do. You know what's coming, Paul, don't you? It's something that we invented together. The finger stir. Eddie Van Cicada went away. I'm not hearing Van Cicada anymore. Just like the real Eddie Van Halen. What a pioneer. Gosh. All right. Yeah, now my phone's all wet. That's probably not good. If you hear bzzz, you know where, uh-oh. Okay, we're good. It's all right. All right, here we go. Okay. It doesn't go away. The flavors are still there. It's still nice. And now it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous ice. I could call it an ice ball. That just isn't eloquent, right? And it can be taken the wrong way by some people. So we call it an ice sphere. But I want to say it an ice sphere like that quick, because I don't know. I guess it could. Well, then it sounds like you're afraid of it. Ice sphere. Ah! Finger stir. You got it, Paul. You got it. Now we're talking. I encourage everybody on YouTube who have not experienced the finger stir yet to try it. I know you want to use a spoon, and you should if you're around other people. If you're stirring somebody else's drinks, keep your finger out of their drink. But if you're going to do your own, it's okay to do the finger stir. It's all right. It's been endorsed by Paul and me. So, you're not going to heckle an endorsement, are you? No. Yes. 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 I didn't know there was a finger emoji like that. There's a finger stir emoji. That's funny. Thank you, Paul. Now I have to find a way to show that finger stir emoji on YouTube. Thanks, Paul. All right. It's not bad. I don't like my drinks cooled down. I don't like my bourbon on ice or my rye on ice or anything like that. But in this case, if you are an ice drinker, if you like your stuff cooled down, this is nice. It's still got some nice honeys to it, a little bit of citrus on it. I never got mint on the palate when it was neat or on water, and I'm not getting it now. So that was just a nose thing. It seems to have sweetened up a little bit with a little ice on it too, which is interesting. Would I recommend it? If you're looking for something that you can cool down, this will stand up to it. So I will tell you an A+. Let's be real about this. You know, I'm an Overholt fanboy. I want to get every Overholt an A+. I think if I had to go back to the actual score, I would give this an A-, because it's really actually quite good for what it is. I do like the old Overholt with the corn in it a little bit better. I like that flavor profile, that mash bill. But this, for what it is actually, mosquito in my face, actually quite tasty. And I can see myself having trouble staying out of this bottle because I like it. All right, so next week, we're changing states. This you can think of as Pennsylvania. That's the state of origin. You can also think of it as Kentucky, which is the state of production now. What's left? What's left? There's a lot left, actually. But we are going back to Tennessee. So next week, we're going to do one that I've heard people talk about. I will tell you, I'm not expecting a whole lot. I'm not a fan of George Dickel anything. The Bottled and Bond is about the only George Dickel product that I have enjoyed. And I don't remember if I still have any of that or not, or if I finished that bottle. It's not very expensive. It's really probably the best George Dickel product that I've had, but this one is different. This one is the hand-selected barrel. It's 51.5% alcohol, so 102 proof. This is only bottle number 15, distilled in Cascade Hollow from George Dickel, aged 9 years. So I'm expecting great things out of this, despite the fact that it's George Dickel. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that the Dickel Distillery does indeed source to other distilleries, particularly in Tennessee and elsewhere too. I mean, the stuff that comes out of something hollow, comes out of Cascade Hollow, there are a lot of big distillers. Heaven Hill's a big distiller. Dickel's a big distiller. Bardstown's a big distiller. Of course, MGP. These are places that distill for other people. And this is theirs. This is Dickel's, and it's a 9-year. And let's see, chill filtered. Why did you do that? Smooth sipping. Smooth sipping at 102 proof. I'll be the judge of that. 103 proof. 51.5 times 2 is 103, yeah? I can math. I don't know if I mathed right. I'll leave it to the people that work at the bank that's watching that can tell me if I get that right. I think it's 103. Anyway, yeah, so, okay. This is next week. We will see you next Thursday at 7 o'clock right here on Beautiful Bourbon. We'll be here live, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. We've been 36 minutes. It's time to go. I will see you next week. Prayers for my mom. She had a bad, not so great diagnosis today, so, her name is Sue. So prayers for her if you have the predilection for that, and I would appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Take care.